welcome to our Spotlight series, where we get to meet innovators and entrepreneurs from around the world. Today is our second in a series where we explore some of the progressive and disruptive businesses coming out of Israel. First and foremost, a big thanks once again to Kobe Bendelek, the CEO of InsurTech Israel. Kobe, thank you for making this happen. And today, not only are we joined by Kobe, but also David from Bina AI and Eliron from Raven AI. Gentlemen,
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir. It's great to be here, Matt.
Good. Well, thank you. If I could ask each of you to make a brief introduction. It doesn't need to be that brief, because I think you've all three of you got exciting businesses. We know Kobe's already a little, but I would like to get into that as well. Maybe a brief introduction to your company, the what you get up to, where you guys are at. Kobe, maybe in fact we start with you. We learned in our last interview a little about InsurTech Israel. Can you go a little bit deeper into what you guys get up to, what you're working on currently, where you guys are at?
That's fantastic. As you remember from our last conversation, I say that all the startups are my kids, but I don't want to take the quality time for them. So I will just say a few words about InsurTech Israel and leave the stage for them as much as I can. So InsurTech Israel have 4 pillars. One is investment. The second is consulting. The third is events and media. And the third one, and the new one, is the accelerator program. It's new because it's operated just for 1 year, but it's a very successful one. And it's successful because our two cohorts already have a great success story with more than $40 million investment and more than 10 business agreements that startups already made. It's a great initiative, and we're really proud about what we are doing here in Israel with our flourishing ecosystem. Just in sentence, InsurTech Israel is a bridge to the world for the startup in Israel, for the InsurTech on the insurance world, and for the insurance world, bridge to the InsurTech in Israel.
Love it. Thanks, Kobe. David, are you able to follow that one?
Follow everything that Kobe is doing. No one is able to do that. Yeah, but I think an introduction about who we are, I guess. So my name is David. I'm the founder, CEO, and CTO of Bina. And I know it's a very interesting combination, but I have experience. This is the 13th startup that I founded. And I've been doing, I guess, the technology my entire life. At Bina, what we're doing, we're democratizing, we're actually making health data available to anyone. Having the ability to extract health data in a software-based solution dramatically changes the way of how people can actually take decisions based on health data. You know, when we are talking about insurance companies, we're already working with 6 out of the top 100 insurance companies in the world, including Generali from Europe, Sompo from Japan, Momentum South Africa, and a few others in the top 50 in the insurance world. And having the ability to extract health data, a software-based solution, dramatically changes the way of how companies actually manage risk. And at Bina, we are not limited only to the insurance industry, but definitely they are the majority of our income. We're also working with some of the largest wellness manufacturers in the world, the largest healthcare provider in the United States, and we're moving forward, you know, just enjoying the ride.
Love it. Thank you very much. Eliron, you happy to dive into your company too?
Sure. So what Raven does is really providing vehicle inspection solutions, and we use computer vision and deep learning tools to essentially turn ordinary mobile phones as well as security cameras into advanced vehicle inspection devices. We're working with fleets, car rentals, dealers, as well as insurance companies, and we're helping them assess damage on vehicles and improve all their processes. Essentially, an insurance company can ask their customer to scan the car before they take up an insurance policy and when they have an incident at the notification of loss, and they can offer them immediate claim settlement and avoiding the risk of fraud and unnecessary repairs. In terms of the company, we've been up and running for about 4 years. You can probably gather from my accent, we've worked across the UK and Israel, and we've expanded to North America too. actually accumulated over 500 million vehicle records so far, and working with some of the largest brands in the world, at least for auto, including Toyota Financial, ADESA Auctions, and KBC Banking Group.
Awesome. Amazing, guys. What fantastic businesses. So as with any call, I do a little bit of homework, a little bit of reading beforehand, including actually watching videos of you guys chatting previously. David, what I didn't pick out was 13 startups before. Give me a little bit of a taster for that. All successes, 13 terrible failures, and now this is
of course not all successes, but I was fortunate enough that 4 have been acquired. My previous company was called Hexity. This was acquired by Huawei, which did data compliance and security. And 8 out of the 13 startups were in cybersecurity. This is, I guess, my comfort zone, but I really enjoy going out of my comfort zone. So there's in multiple different types of subjects that I'm a technology junkie, let's be honest.
For sure. And then how did you step from the world of cyber, or I guess that area of tech more broadly into health? What was the launch?
The first startup in healthcare that I created that didn't went anywhere. We just raised a very small amount of money. Was almost 20 years ago, and it was about the ability to measure in-skull pressure inside of the head by using an analysis of seismographic information. The problem was that each and every sensor to create those kind of sensor listening mode was in the size of a laptop back then, so it wasn't really making sense that a person will sit with 2 laptops on his mind. Today, you can actually embed it inside of a headphones. But I think that it's a personal maturity for me as a person, because it doesn't matter how much I love cybersecurity, and I feel very comfortable and pretty easy if I've been able to create quite a few different startups and sell a few, but the impact is dramatically changing. And as you grow older as a person, you want to make a change, a real change that influences people's life. And healthcare by far is the most, I think, influential sector that there is to develop in. So it took us quite some time to actually dig, and we all the founders at Bina are very deep tech oriented people. So we wanted to create something how you can use a software-based solution that you can use on any smartphone, tablet, laptop to extract vital signs. You know, in healthcare, it makes complete sense that if a doctor can actually get your vitals remotely, you can actually take a decision better as a physician. But in the world of insurance, that the majority of the insurance instruments are based on risk assessment. So health insurance, life insurance, we see now everything about mortgage insurance. You want to make sure that the person is healthy and you're able to have an ongoing monitoring of his health condition. So for me, the move was the maturity point of view.
Sure. And it's only going to play more so as we move into away from protection into prevention, right? And that being able to.
And maybe we can add the prevention to the prevention, the retention. The insurance company can keep her great, good clients by using that application.
Thank you, Kobe.
One of the things you mentioned in your introduction, you talked about its availability to anyone, and we get that, right? And Eleron, it's almost the same as you, right? We've all got these in our hands at all times. Go broader into the kind of the vision for the business, because the clients I picked out the Generali and the Sompo, so you've got the big Italian but obviously global presence with both of the businesses, in fact. But the accessibility for everybody is your vision to broaden this out so that I could be in a really underserved population within Africa or South America or India, and I'm using your technology, or are you still focused on those main markets? So
we're actually working with all of them. Momentum in South Africa is actually targeting also a low socioeconomic level people, so definitely working with them as well. And now we're working with Papua New Guinea, and we're focusing on other developing countries in order to make it available for everyone. So I guess the short term, we're a startup and we have to make revenues.
Yeah, sure.
And revenues will not exactly come from those kind of developing countries. But on the other hand, in the long term, we want to make a revolution in the healthcare industry, not only in the world of insurance. So we should make it available anywhere to anyone at any time.
Super exciting. Eliran, so likewise, right? Your business 10 years ago, 15 years ago, just couldn't have existed, I assume, in the way it does today. Might be wrong in that, but otherwise you're carrying a laptop around your car, and you're inspecting your car in the same ways as you've got two laptops either side. But it's tell me about your background a little bit. So Shell Digital Ventures is what I picked out, and then tell me about your route into setting up the business as we know it today.
Right. So yeah, quite a different background to David's, and I think to quite a few of the Israeli entrepreneurs that we come across. So I was actually in London and was sitting there as part of the Shell team that was looking to diversify revenues from the traditional business. And one of the concepts was that we could actually position cameras in the gas station, because we realized that millions of drivers every day come in and out of these gas stations, and we only sell them petrol and maybe Coke. And we thought maybe we could do something else. We could tell you about the safety of your car. We could tell you about maybe repairs that you need to carry out. And we started doing these pilots and quickly realized that the future was actually with fleets, car rental companies, and insurance companies. And in order to better serve these markets, we would need to not only offer cameras, but also go into this device, the mobile phone. And as you rightly said, Matt, it's about making inspections accessible to anyone. Now, I'll caveat that. Obviously, my 90-year-old grandmother will probably not run our inspection, but most of the population can. And when you have an incident, it's just a critical pain point with your insurance company. And I know, healthcare is one thing, is really important, but auto is just in some cases, just a loss-making line, because it's very hard to make it work and make it effective. And therefore, a lot of insurers struggle with it. And we thought maybe we could use the same capabilities of detecting damage, analyzing it, packaging it up in a sense that could offer the insurance company a quick resolution to a damage claim, and they won't be overpaying for that damage. So that seemed compelling. And fortunately, some of our partners agreed with us and implemented it.
Love it. And tell me a little bit more about your business. So you raised a Series A last year, and a pretty sizable one. Tell me where you guys are at right now in the market, and where you're heading over the near term.
So something that we've started with, and that was from the early days, was actually offering these fleets and claim agents the ability to analyze vehicle condition before you sell your car, before you submit a claim, before you rent it out for the weekend, things like that. But as we see the industry, very few, or actually nobody, has managed to create an experience which really goes to the end consumer, which really allows the insurance company to tell you, hey, you've had an incident, take out your phone, scan the car, and we know what to do. We will offer you the right amount for a settlement. That hasn't been done because the tech has not gone far enough, despite maybe some publications claiming otherwise. We've not seen it in the market, and I think that's where we're heading. We're going to launch this pretty soon, actually, with at least one carrier, where you truly have an automated process with an end consumer. It's quite exciting. We're focused on it, and once that happens, it opens up a range of opportunities, not only for insurance claims. Think about you selling your used car and running an inspection on it, instead of taking it to a dealer and obviously paying, getting a haircut on the vehicle value because you're at the dealership and that's what they're telling you it's worth. So basically democratizing the vehicle inspection market is what we're after.
Super interesting. And what about the global footprint? So you've got the UK connection in your previous life, and seemingly carried over in your accent. Are you Israeli originally?
I am. I mean,
okay.
I'm both, basically.
There you go. And then, yeah. And so tell me about the kind of global footprint for you guys. Where are you currently? Where are your clients? Where are you currently operating?
So interestingly or not interestingly, the vast majority of our customers are actually North America. We have an office in Austin, Texas, which is where the cars are. And we're expanding in North America. We do have some other opportunities that we're working through outside of North America and Europe, but as David said, these are lower revenue opportunities typically, although we do see some high-profile deals coming up in Asia. Yeah.
So in the last time we talked, Kobe and I were talking around kind of the entrepreneurship and infrastructure that enables entrepreneurship in Israel. And I found that particularly interesting. And the businesses we were discussing, many of those, or a couple of those, had representation in both Israel and the US, and the US being that natural step seemingly for Israeli businesses, in part because of the huge size of the market, but also in part because of their attitudes towards innovation and entrepreneurial spirit. For you guys, and David, maybe going back into the kind of serial entrepreneur kind of heritage that you have. Have you give me some kind of how did you get into this yourself? What was it about? Your background, problems. That kind of solving problems, not causing problems, solving problems.
I guess a combination.
Yeah, probably true, right?
Eventually, startup causes a problem many times, and you have to resolve it by himself. But I think that it's a good question, because I guess each and every startup that I'm evolving as a person, evolving as an entrepreneur, and evolving as a technological person, I always take things from the past with me. And I can probably write a few books about what I've learned. And I think that if I'll try to summarize the three most important things that I've learned from my past experiences, the number one is always to think about the value and not the solution. Okay, and the question is ROI, and again, ROI from a customer perspective and not from my own perspective. It doesn't matter how much I love the technology and how groundbreaking it is. If it doesn't create a value, it's worthless eventually. Second thing, it might sound harsh, but hire fast, fire fast. Very simple and straightforward. The majority of the startups that fail due to human resources issues. They love the people, I love everyone, but with that, hire fast, fire fast. That's, I guess, everything is evolved. And I think that the last thing is that a startup, the life cycle of a startup is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So you have to set shorter term goals. And it takes time. And the lifespan of a startup is usually going up and down and up and down, and it's usually evolving, and there's great days and there's horrible days, and you eventually evolve and get better as time passes. And I think that's my very, very shortened, tell the entire Bible while standing on one feet. So those three things are some of the.
I love it. It's a nice little one. A nice nice bit of learning to share. Thank you for that. But I want to. There was a question that I was aiming towards, which I didn't get the answer for. So I'm going to ask it just slightly differently, and I appreciate what you said already. But what enabled you to become the entrepreneur you are today? What was it? Is it anything to do with Israel, or are you just that guy? You could have been born anywhere in the world and had the successes that you've had.
No way.
I guess honestly, Israel ecosystem dramatically changes the way of how fast you can adjust to things. From my specific army service, and actually I started working at the age of 15 already as a developer, so I started pretty early. But from our point of view, I guess it's a very fast adjustment to any kind of condition. It's the way of how you're able to break the big picture to smaller components in order to resolve them. And I'm not sure that there's something special about the startup nation. If 5 years ago we had those discussions and we were purely the startup nation, now we're the unicorns nation. 67 unicorns in Israel just from the past 4 years. It's unbelievable what's happening in Israel. So I think Israel as a community and as an ecosystem is also evolving. if in the past everything was about quick exits, just create great technology, find a few customers and sell it as soon as possible. Now no one wants to sell the company. I'm not interested in selling Bina as well. We are about building, I don't want to use the word unicorn, but because it doesn't really mean anything besides raising an evaluation. Eventually is about making a global impact. You mentioned earlier, by the way, how companies, we have offices in the US and offices in Japan, and now offices also in a third country now is developing. But for Israel, the local country, it's actually a QA environment. It's great that we have a few Israeli customers, but none of the Israeli startups can build a full strategy only supporting Israeli customers. So for us, we have to expand outside of the local country. There's no way to actually grow if we're not doing that.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
why Israeli usually get the first 10 customers outside of Israel before they're even able to sell to Israeli companies.
Yes, we spoke about
Eliran, yeah, we did. We touched on that. Eliran, tell me, is it the same for you guys?
Yeah, right. I mean, if the question is about the Israeli, the big question is why are there more Israeli companies on the NASDAQ than anyone else outside of US companies? And people that are smarter than me have attempted to answer that question. And I think I can rephrase what I think is right, which is that there are a few factors converging in Israel. Firstly, it's just a local ecosystem that started developing from the military, testing technologies, and actually some governmental programs that were very successful in the 80s and the 90s, and propel the industry. And from then on, you've got that network effect of people that are already in tech and money that's going into tech. I think the mentality plays a role here. The mentality of physical scarcity. Israel is not a poor country, but but when you compare us versus, if I look at an Israeli experience to the military, you're getting secondhand equipment from the American army. You're recycling some stuff from imports, and you're trying to get along. And when you go to the not even the military, you go to the supermarket, there's always a queue, and you need to figure out a way to jump the queue. And then you build an algorithm that tells you when the queue is available, right? That you don't need to wait. So the mind keeps, operating in that way. And finally, it's just a small country. So it means that you cannot make a living, or you can, but in order to make the big bucks, you have to go outside globally, make an impact outside of the country, which technology lends itself well to that.
I have a great analogy just as a follow-up. Sorry, Eliran and Matt, but we are making processors out of lemons.
I want to dive into your last question, maybe on both of your businesses, right? So not next time. When is it going to be commonplace that when I crash my car, hopefully it's not me crashing, maybe someone else crashing into my car, it's commonplace for me to be walking around inspecting the vehicle with my smartphone, or even when I'm selling my current car for another. When is that going to be so commonplace that it is the 90-year-old grandmother who is doing it? And David, the same from a healthcare perspective. I love making use of the tools that you can get out there to track your own kind of physical well-being, and whether it's hardware or not, and preferably not. When is this going to be the mainstay?
So, Eliran, you want to take it first?
Sure.
Go on, Eliran, go for it.
I mean, that's a great question. I believe, and I'm biased, that this is going to be mainstream in less than 3 years. But when I say mainstream, I think we always, in the population, you've got the early adopters, people who are very tech savvy, and they will go for it first. So I think that's kind of in the next 3 years for sure. And then the late adopters will come later on. We are today, in 3-5 years time, I think my generation is going to be the oldest, the older part. So that's going for us. We're launching it now, and I don't want to spoil a press release, but in certain European countries, you will have it this year. Amazing. So the adoption curve will start kicking in.
Congrats,
awesome. Well done.
That's amazing. Yeah. So From our point of view, I see it a little bit differently. And I think that our success will be when people wouldn't have to do anything. And what do I mean by that? Because our technology can actually run on any kind of a smartphone, and the average adult in North America uses their smartphone 3 hours and 40 minutes every day. The average Korean adult uses his phone 4 hours and 50 minutes every day. So if we already have so much face time, we see the face in front of the smartphone, we can run basically 30 different scans every day just because you're using your smartphone. So ideally, within the next 2 years, we now will run at the background of any.
We just lost. Sorry, we lost the sound on you.
Apologies. You will be able to actually have a full control of everything, which means you won't need to do anything. And whether your wellness, your health level, your personalized health system will work automatically because it will always happen in the background. We work with countries now that doesn't have a sewer system, yet everyone have a smartphone. It's remarkable.
That's crazy. Yeah.
So having the ability to make this kind of technology available at the background without people are even, are not thinking about it, and they will get a notification when something is wrong. Or when something.
How do you make that happen? That's doing deals with the manufacturers, right? That's getting.
No, actually, manufacturers have nothing to do with it. It's only Apple and Google, because Apple and Google should allow you to run in the background whenever other applications are running. So we're just working with those two, giants, and it's doable. So far, only 7 applications in Apple received an approval to use the camera when you're not using it. And I guess we'll get there. It will take us some time because it's pretty hard working with those giants, but we'll be able to get there.
But it's super logical, and you're absolutely right. Right, from a user perspective, there's literally no barrier to that. It's I'm on my phone. It's like having my smartwatch tracking stuff behind the scenes, right? It's just sitting there on my wrist.
Anytime you're reading emails or watching, doesn't matter, YouTube, Instagram feed, whatever. The camera is in front of your face and you're already staring at the phone. That's the only thing we need to find, a little piece of skin that is exposed to the camera with a reasonable light reflection, and we can extract everything from your blood pressure and to other types of vital signs.
Superb. Guys, well, superbly interesting businesses you're both running. I want to spend just a couple of minutes on a very humble man. That's Kobe, who was giving you all the airtime and stepping back into the shadow. Kobe, I want to talk a little bit more about InsurTech Israel. I'm gonna make you answer some questions, if that's all right. So we were joking last time we spoke about every time we open LinkedIn, there's Kobe, right? I mean, he's pretty prevalent at the moment.
I told you it's a bot. It's not me.
Either way, Kobe, it's great. You've trained it well. So tell me, so one of the things that I am seeing at the moment is around the accelerator program. And if I'm right in saying, Raven, guys were part of that first cohort. I think that's correct. Can you tell us more about that accelerator and what is it that companies are being asked to do and how they're getting involved in that?
Okay, so just yesterday we finished our registration time period to the third cohort, and we already had and have 26 Israeli InsurTech startups that registered to the third cohort. More than half of them are new ones for us, not new ones in the ecosystem. So it's wonderful. It's amazing. It's a big trust that the ecosystem give us, and the startups believe that we can assist them. Raven even can. Anyone can say some words about it later on if needed. So it's a big trust that we get from the ecosystem, and we're really proud of that. And it's going to be a great year, I think so. So what we are doing that is we have 10 weeks that we accelerate the abilities of the startup. It's not incubator. It's not startup that don't have any. It's just idea with two entrepreneurs. It's startup that raise money, have a product, but we can accelerate them by using 3 layers. The first is a great mentoring program. We have great mentors. Just to mention Nigel Walsh from Google, the chief insurance at Google. So he's one of the kind, and a lot of more great mentors like Breno from Allianz, and Tobias from Zurich, and many more. Sorry, so not mentioning all of it. So this is the first layer. The second is investment, and the last one, and from my point of view, is one of the most important is the exposures. We operate during the cohorts roadshows that expose the startups to many investors and potential clients. It's a face-to-face roadshows and virtual ones, so it's a great opportunity for the startup to succeed. And I think it's worth it, and it's great. And when we see the numbers, I can't release it now, but there's two great business partners that are going to join us in the coming days.
Kobe, don't expose it. Just tell us their names.
They are great names. I can say them.
Kobe, we'll put this out after. Just tell us.
Yeah, exactly.
No. I need. Yes. Nobody hear that.
I want to add something though, for Kobe, because he's, he sometimes a bit modest, and I think, for a company like ours, sometimes people think about accelerators, and that the word associates with early stage companies. But I think, in our case, we came in with a product and a business that was a bit more mature, but wanted to go into insurance. And I think, I'm giving myself some credit for partnering with Kobe here, because I think this provided with tremendous value to us in getting into the insurance ecosystem. I think, David, you're kind of the same, working
completely.
Right?
We usually don't say compliments in front of the person's face, but Kobe definitely has a huge amount of information and a huge amount of connection, and the ability to actually structure the right process from a go-to-market strategy and the value that is generated. And thank you, Kobe, if I haven't said it yet.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so
thank you.
My call is that any company that wants to understand better the insurance space, but may not be an early stage company in its own right, I think, Kobe, you'll agree with me, they are most welcome to come in.
Yes, thank you for that. I must say, and honest, that the success is coming from the startups. Really, I just coordinate, okay, and use my bot to.
Eleron, I'm with you. He's way too modest.
Yeah.
No. It's
so Kobe, last question.
Okay.
Last question goes to you. Okay. So I've asked Eleron, I've asked David about their businesses, the future for their companies. Tell me about the future for InsurTech Israel. How are you going to build your business? Are you going to be doing more of the same? Are you going to be doing something new? What's the next 5 years hold for you guys?
Wow. We're considering to extend our activity around. This is running in my head for a long time, but who knows? I don't have too long programs for that, but I'm sure that good things will happen. Like always, I'm saying, if you are go forward, good thing will happen to you. So it's still good. Keep going, go forward.
So one last thing, I'm sorry to stop you, but I think it was on the first or the second time that I met Kobe, and I told him about what we're doing. So he looked at me and he said, I have to quote Mike Tyson. And Mike Tyson once said, everyone got a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yes.
So so Kobe, so Kobe meant by that eventually you have to be much more flexible and actually adopt.
Yeah. I think that's so true. But Kobe, look, I mean, the glowing endorsement from these two chaps, the people we spoke with last time, it sounds like you're doing a great job with InsurTech Israel. So keep that up and more of the same, please. Gents, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure to get to know you all better. Eleron and David, to meet you for the first time. So thank you.
Thank you for having us, Matt. Have a wonderful day and keep safe at those times.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you, Kobe. Bye-bye.
You're welcome.